With the next title, E7, the story takes a nosedive. No, you cannot start with this. No one will watch this. Okay, let me try again. E7 is the worst game in the series. It's rotten. Better? No? Oh well. For E7 I structured this a bit differently. I will go first through the story with as little criticism as I can possibly hold myself back. Then I will talk about the gameplay, so you can first conclude how you like the story. Then I will rip the story apart. I structured my take on E7 this way because it just happens to be that way. What, did you really think there is a reason why I do this? Pfft. Adel arrives in Altago by ship. Alongside him is his best friend and trusted companion Dogi. Altago is in the world of Ys on the continent of Africa and governed by the royal family. Adel and Dogi first take a look at the city and meet two girls. Tia and Maya are the result of the writers googling traits of sympathetic victim characters and taking all of them. Orphaned and poor, they have to sell flowers. They live in the slums and the younger sister is also mute. Literally all of them. They even get picked on by the local commander Rout. He says to Tia that if she wants to sell flowers, she should come with him and keep him company, which in my book means rape. He is the obvious person in charge abusing his powers character, and Adel and Dogi intervene. We get imprisoned for maybe obstruction of official rape, and during the interrogation, taunting, we also meet Zias, another commander, who is a lot more cordial and friendly. Instead of being convicted, Adel and Dogi meet the king of Altago. He tells Adel that he knows him through the pirate king from E6. Recently his people did excavate monuments, dedicated to the 5 dragons that in legend govern over Altago. They already did research them, but the king has a hunch that it will go differently when Adel visits them. Which in essence is just the character has to do something because the writer said so. If you ask me about how to write good character motivation that develops the plot, this takes literally the second last place. For everyone who does not catch on, this reason is a bunch of goat fesses. We meet that monument and it speaks to us, which seems like a serious staple. It makes us the Dragon Warrior and says we should visit the other monuments, because Altago is about to meet its doom. That's all. You would not convince me with this to buy groceries, not to speak of visiting 4 monuments around the country. Adel falls unconscious because the writer said so, and Tia helps Dogi attend to him. Adel wakes up in Tia and Maya's house, and they tell him how she lives alone with Maya. We report to the king, and on the way we meet the prime minister, who will definitely not betray the kingdom and the general. Most definitely. The king tells us that he knows an expert, because of course he does, and gives us a letter. We make a detour to Tia, who gives us the medicine for a delivery, which is the same place we are heading, Shanoa. The Shanoa tribe, like many tribes in the East series, have similarities to the original people of Japan, the Ainu. We find Elk, that's the boy's name, and save him. We escort him to his grandmother, who is coincidentally also the expert and the leader of the Shanoa tribe. She directs us into the next dungeon for the next monument. Elk, a capable fighter, also follows us. Elk has so little personality that in the end I forgot he existed, even though he was part of the team. For the rest of the game, this will be the usual MO. First we go into a dungeon and find a roadblock. In the dungeon we find an item to circumvent said roadblock. Like in this one, we have spikes on the ground and find sturdy shoes that destroy the spikes. Then we fight a boss and get story. This will be repeated around 10 times throughout the game, depending on how you judge certain dungeons. The Earth Monument of Shanoa tells us nothing. Altago, Doom, Visit. That's all. On our way back we save Tia from some monsters and escort her back. We need to find the Fire Monument, and the elder of that tribe is the general. Or it would be. But as he became the general, he gave up his duty to his son in Zekram. On our way we meet Aisha, who joins the group as a mysterious runaway. Then we get another perspective and see Geis looking at the monument as he finds out that someone already became the Dragon Warrior. In Zekram we meet the daughter of the general Cruxy. She is ill and faints. We carry her to bed and then her brother Mustafa arrives. Mustafa is the new elder of the Fire tribe and guides us into the Fire Temple. Mustafa does not think highly of his father because he left the tribe and his terminally ill daughter. We find a monument, get the power and return to Sekrem. Sadly, we can do nothing for Cruxy and she dies in pain and agony while being afraid of the end. In the meantime, guys invaded the palace. The city is subsequently in uproar and guards are everywhere. We meet Tia and follow her to her house for a cool drink. But Maya gets ill. She got afflicted by something called the Iskan fever. Like Cruxy, she has an illness that has no cure, and that happens just after we had a similar story. To treat the illness, we need very expensive and rare materials, but of course the local trader does not give them to us for free, but the game treats him like he's the bad one. The medicine grows in the sewers, which cannot be sanitary, but nonetheless Adel and Party will try to get some. The entrance is blocked by a guard and the rape commander Raut, nicknamed Raping Raut, comes by. Aisha is able to convince him and it is pretty much clear that she's the princess in disguise. But for the sake of plot, our characters have to constantly play volley with the idiot ball. We enter the sewers with Tia. We get through the whole sewers without any protection, and some even wear skirts. We also bleed because there are monsters and a boss. The city will have a lot of more problems when we spread whatever we catch down there. Sias hangs out a lot around Tia's house, because he grew up there with Tia, and we meet him there and have some small talk. We make off to the Wind Village, and on our way we meet Guys, and after a brief duel with Adel, we part ways. In the Wind Town we meet Mishera, and like Elk, she has zero personality or presence. Wind Temple, boss, monument, yada yada yada. When we return to Altago we visit Tia again, and Maya is better. For the water monument we have to set sail to the island near the coast of Altago. Years ago the royal family moved from there and claimed the throne. Aisha's father is ill but tells us how to get into the water temple. We get to the harbor and Aisha's attendant wants her to stay, but we quickly sail off. Meanwhile the king gets another visitor and the scene ends foreboding the king's demise. Guys waits for us on the island however he got there and becomes part of the crew. The water temple is the same soup like all the others. When we are on our way back we get arrested because someone murdered the king and we are the suspect. The king was apparently murdered after we talked to him. The Prime Minister takes on command until Aisha becomes an adult and orders our death. By ancient custom we can fight in the arena, and if we win we will be declared innocent. Sias gives us a weapon and we defeat the monster. The Prime Minister does not care for this tradition and wants to shoot Adel. But the crew breaks into the arena with the trademarked Dogi Punch and they escape. Tia helps us with a secret passage. Geist will now lead us to the secret 5th village of the Moon Dragon. It has been concealed by magic, and the Moon Tribe were the original rulers of the continent, tasked by the 5 dragons to keep the balance. The leader of the Moon Tribe tells us that the monuments are something that was built recently, and the true dragon shrines are behind them, so of course we have to visit them all again. The legend tells that the Wind of Destruction will kill all life in Altago, and the Dragon Warrior can stop it. The crew unites and makes off to the 4 monuments again. Because the army blocks the main road, we have to use the secret ways of the Iska tribe, which is the Moon Dragon tribe. We meet Sigrun, who on the order of the princess now joins our group. She has the same items and abilities as Aisha. We now will start battling the dragons in each of their true sanctums. Before and after, we will have maybe the worst discussions ever with the dragons. Each dragon goes, "It is very important that you know the truth. The truth I'm about to tell you. When I tell you this truth, you will know the truth. The truth is told by the next dragon." No, really, it is that stupid. There is, besides the last dragon, 0 sense in what the dragons say. The only redeeming quality for this section is that some of the plot lines come to an interesting conclusion. After finishing the Fire Sanctum and getting blue-balled by an oversized lizard, we find a cure for Cruxy, who then joins the group instead of Mustafa. In the city, Tia entrusts Aisha with Maya, while she's gone doing God knows what. After beating the Earth Lizard, we see hooded people speaking eerily. And of course, like it is with these scenes, there's nothing to it. This could have been just cut out from the game and it would have been better. Which is, and I'm sorry for that, actually true for the whole of E7. This game is a stain on the already muddy series. Now we need to get to the Water Sanctum, and coincidentally a strong plague wind renders the whole army useless, so we can enter the city. Tia is gone and we find Maya and take her to a makeshift hospital. We cannot do more for Maya, so we enter the castle where we find Cias, beating the general. I mean, in combat, not just domestic violence. He was the one who killed the king. We have to fight and lose against him, and then Tia, or Tia Luna, reveals that she and Cias are the true descendants of the Moondragon tribe, the Iskar. Ages ago, the Water tribe, which Aisha is the descendant of, killed the Iskar tribe and took the throne. The Moondragon tribe were responsible for the balance. Aisha rejoins the group and we fight through the Water Sanctum. Blue Ball, Dragon, etc. When we return, we see Rapist Sprout taking care of Maya and being considerate. It is kind of bad that literally the only character development in the whole game happens to the Rapist. The Prime Minister got killed, by the way. Did I not tell you? He has so little impact you probably forgot about him like me. The final dragon, the Moondragon, waits for us inside Iskar village. From the dragon we get the full picture. Pardon, I mean any picture, because the other brain dead lizards did not tell us anything. The dragons are the true rulers of the land called Atago, and when the land gets out of balance, which endangers all life, they send the wind of destruction, killing everyone, and the humans have to start anew. The Dragon Warrior is chosen to represent the ones currently alive to fight for their survival, although they have never won. I can only assume they don't mean literally everyone, because then no one would be there to start anew. Tia and Cias have the role of starting this ritual, and Adel was chosen as the Dragon Warrior. The crew is as shocked as the player. The crew because of the dire situation, and the player because the writing is so shit. We travel to the Well of Souls and confront Tia and Cias. Cias is the pre-boss fight and very easy. He seems to regret his role with his last breath. Tia awaits the group and says she started this because her sister Maya got ill, which filled her with determination to play the role given to her. We then have something I call the PFCJ, which is short for the Power of Friendship Circle Jerk. This always happens in these type of games, where in the end they stand before the boss and each companion gets exactly one line to say before the final battle. We defeat Tia and then we have to confront the root of Altago. It looks like a giant demon, and you, like me, have to probably replay this fight because all of a sudden there are 3 teams consisting of your companions and Adel. I had my party set up, leveled and geared out, but not everyone. Even worse, I needed to farm. A lot, maybe 20 hours, so I could beat this lazy boss fight. After this, we and Tia get out. The dragons appear and say that with the first win of the Dragon Warrior, they will leave and stop killing everyone. The land now belongs to the humans. Tia then starts to vanish. She's part of the dragons, so she's going to disappear like them. Brought to you by the writers who liked the ending of Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. The city is then rebuilt and Adel after a while leaves because Wanderlust is his lifestyle. I wanted to give the story this big section without interrupting with criticism. Okay, much. The combat is the 7 system, like in part 4 of the series. Dodging is more meaningful here, because the block was not implemented. It was the first iteration of the new combat system, and for that they were pretty good. It feels dynamic, you have control over Adel, and the combat feels skill-based even though it is most definitely not. Each area of the map looks distinct, as do dungeons and monsters. I often play games and enemies behave the same while looking differently. E7 does this better because many enemies have different attacks, as do the bosses, who are another highlight. Each boss, from start to finish, is different. Not every boss is a stellar experience, which is pretty hard when you have to make bosses unique. Because each player will have fights and mechanics that they like more or less. But I take this approach. over an average but samey boss rooster. Weak and simple bosses are there and make the more complex ones shine. Each dungeon, as I already noted, has a unique mechanic: underwater breathing and movement, walking over spikes, riding the wind, moving in fire, and more. Those have the same problems that Ys 4 have. Each mechanic might be unique, but it's always clear what you need to use and where. There is no challenge involved. You see spikes on the ground, then you move into your inventory and equip the boots. If you have to go underwater, you equip your diving suit. The problem is not the action, but that you are done dealing with the dungeon mechanic after equipping the corresponding item. Having to use multiple items or involve them in puzzles would have been better. Or maybe not, because the puzzles are really bad in this game. I took notes during my playthrough and I have giant red letters in my Word document about this. In the last dungeon you have a puzzle involving lights. The puzzle is not bad, you just have to move the ray to the same color, and you can extend the ray by using different mirrors. It's simple but okay. The problem is how infuriating slow each mirror moves. You cannot easily see where the ray will be going because it's often out of screen. So you will try and move each mirror often and it takes ages, while you constantly press the button. The gameplay in Ys 7 is a solid 7 out of 10. It is fun, but loses massive points for tediousness and forcing me to farm. So how can this be the worst of the game so far? Well, that's because of the story. Let's start with that the story never were whatever, their strong suit. It's always prophecy here, big bad that, wherever Adel Christian goes, the world is about to end, which reminds me about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. In that book there is a small story about a truck driver who's followed by a rain cloud. At one point, cities and states pay the truck driver not to move into their cities, and many kingdoms like Altago would be well advised to do the same to Adel. If Adel Christian arrives in your country, my piece of advice is moving away as fast as you can. The first problem is Tia and Maya. I like both characters, but they are so on the nose, stereotypical damsel in distress archetypes that you can see the notes of the writers behind them. They gone over the top with everything involving those two, that it breaks immersion in a very bad way. The other characters have the exact opposite problem. They have no presence. Besides Aisha and recurring characters, not a single companion has any hint of personality. They are not interesting, make single-line comments that often could be excluded and the story would not have changed. Whenever one of them popped up, I made a note in my head if their comment changed anything. And this was almost never the case. That the whole story, up to the end, is in most parts just repeated structure does not help. Each temple, sanctum or monument is just copy and pasted 4 times. Yeah, some things changed, but the overall structure is monotone, which makes it uninteresting. Commander Route is another example of the bad character writing. The whole main character and side character relation can be summarized as: people are only evil when they antagonize Adel. As soon as the whole Route tries to coerce a young girl into a sexual partnership is over, he's treated like the good guy, helping Maya, accompanying her. He's even still a commander in the epilogue. Remember please that Tia is a failed attempt, and he probably did not decide to start this behavior on the day Adel arrived. There are probably tons of young good-looking girls that had to keep him company. The whole ending is a mess, a complete, stinking and rotten garbage pile. The 5 dragons need to kill people because the land gets out of balance, right? So why is this no longer a problem? This out of balance bullshit, which they could have just made up because they like to kill humans, is still in effect. This isn't gone. If the dragons did not lie, everyone will die. Aisha tells us in the epilogue that they will try together to keep the balance, but if just telling people is enough, why did the dragons resort to kill everyone first? They also could have just told people. Remember that no one besides the crew knows anything about this. Aisha comes back into the city and tells the populace, hey, we need to keep the balance, and everyone just says, yes. Meanwhile, the dragons have killed millions of people every 1,000 years instead of just asking or enforcing the issue. Why is genocide the first option? Why is the fate of the people of Altago decided by combat? Why is this the criterion that makes a good ruler instead of intelligence or being friendly? Let's put Aisha out of the equation for a second. Adel gets chosen as the Dragon Warrior and wins against the garbage pile. Then what? He has no political power. People don't trust him. Nothing in this country would change if Aisha is not conveniently the next ruler. The Dragon Warrior winning does not solve anything. It only proves that a single person is powerful enough to kill dragons. But it's not proof that humans can deal with the imbalance. This is just a proof of power. I would feel better if my mechanic has the ability to repair my car instead of winning a one-on-one fight with a lizard. The trial does not make sense, and to top it all off, Adel leaves. The Dragon Warrior that now should deal with the imbalance just moves away from the country. The story would have made more sense if the dragons were just evil. The imbalance is unsolved. The ending feels like the creative vomit of late 50 fantasy writers with a meth addiction. I really hope that Ys 8 will be better. Until then, farewell.